were asking about something I threw around called the hierarchy of the mix, or I've called it the pyramid, the mix pyramid. Let me tell you about something that happened to me when I was mixing one time. I was mixing in a rush, and at the last minute on the last song, the artist decided that they wanted a harmonica overdub. And so at the time, my friend Terry McMillan was still alive. He was an incredible harmonica player. He came in, played the harmonica. Now I was at the sound kitchen, so the mix was up on this Neve console, and it wasn't like double click and it's back up like we have now. We're really spoiled now, but so the mix was up. Terry did his overdub, and I spent an hour trying to get the harmonica down enough in the track, because what I decided was that the last thing that you mix is the loudest thing that you hear. So that's why the harmonica coming in at the last minute, then in my ear's mind, should have been louder than the vocal, and that's what was happening. So what I did to correct it was I ended up having to mute the vocal, and then I muted the background vocals, and I put the harmonica in to where the track was. So he moved down the pyramid some. Instead of being at the top of the pyramid over the vocal, he was back down here in the lower part of the triangle. So when I thought about that, and I thought, well, how curious that your ear plays tricks on you like that, and if you can figure out a mind hack like that, you can use it to your advantage. So that's exactly how I set up my mixes now. I think of what's important, what is the loudest thing I want in the mix, and I make sure that is the last thing that I mix. Which in country music, gospel music, some R&B music, the vocal needs to be louder than most everything else, because it's lyric driven. Whereas rock and roll and pop, sometimes the vocal is just an effect almost. So then you would mix a different way. They like the drums and bass because it's dance music. So in that, it might be like this now. The vocal is toward the bottom, drums and bass are at the top. So if you are mixing country, gospel, any lyric-driven song, what I do is I mix the drums and bass first. And when I say mix, I don't mean physically put my hands on a mix. So at the very bottom of the pyramid would be drums and bass, and the rhythm section, basically anything that's rhythm-driven, like piano, acoustic guitars, maybe a rhythm guitar, loops, any percussion stuff that just lays down the bed of the song. And on the next arc, or the next level of the pyramid, would be things like fills, like if a guitar solo, some kind of a drum fill that's a signature lick, like at the very beginning of a song, background vocals. It's more important than the drums and bass and stuff, because you want to hear that next, because that's like what defines the song. The hooks of the song, that's on that next layer. And then the final one, the very top one, is the thing you want last, the thing you want the loudest, which is either, you might move the guitar solo up there when it comes time, but you definitely want the lead vocal in there. Or if it's a trio or a ensemble, you want the melody to be up there and the harmony to be down here. So if you think of a mix like that in a pyramid shape, mix it in this order, going up this way, and then you're almost positive to be able to get everything right. I know I used to get really frustrated when you would mix something and the snare would end up like crazy loud. Well, if you're making those calls on the snare based on how loud the vocal is, then you will tend to get it loud, because then you're moving the snare up here to the vocal, close to the vocal track. So if you'll think of it in a triangle or a pyramid and mix from the bottom up, I've always found that works for me to help get a quick blend on things.